a story! My grandma had this friend. Now, a little precursor about my grandmother, she's very what we Brits would call posh. For all my non-Brit friends out there, that would be like high class, high class wannabe. She'll never see this, it's fine. She had this friend whose dad had died. So her friend's dad's wishes were for their ashes to be scattered on the River Mersey in Liverpool, which is illegal, unless you have a permit, which my grandmother and her friend didn't. So they thought, let's do it anyway. So they travelled all the way to Liverpool, and because they're all high class and they've got their real mink coats on. Now, you gotta remember, this was like back in the day, so they still had real fur about then. So these real mink coats, all well-to-do in their finery. So they went on this ferry with this urn, trying to be discreet, you know, trying to hide it in these big coats. So they got on the ferry, and they were immediately seated and started to be served afternoon tea. So they're just kind of there with this urn, which they have to hide under the table while they're having afternoon tea, and they catch the waiter and they're like, hey, ferry guy, when are we going to be setting off? You know, I'm quite anxious, I have a dead guy. But then the guy was like, oh, no, this is a stationary ferry. Oh, shit. So they had to sit through this entire 2-hour-long afternoon tea. So they got off that ferry, and they got on a new ferry, which actually did move, thank the heavens. As they do, this mangy stray dog takes a liking to my grandmother and just is sniffing around her and will not leave her alone. It follows them on to the ferry, and they're like, we've just got to ignore it and pretend it's not ours, because, yeah. Anyway, the moment has come. This solemn moment. They're gonna scatter the ashes of this loved person, and they're ready to go, and as they throw the ashes, the boat turns around, so the wind is now blowing into their faces, so all of their ashes just come back, and my grandma is like, my mink coat, oh no, get it off, and her friend is like, my dad, trying to get her dad and throw bits of him into the Mersey, and this dog is like having the best meal of its life, probably. A meal of death. So that's the story of how my grandma illegally scattered ashes in the River Mersey. Hope you have a good day. Bye! So, stationary ferry, rhyme of the week. Rhyme, so fucking weird.